English translation, 899th contact. Thursday, 17th October 2024, 8:42 hours.
Greetings, Quetzal, my friend. I really did get here in time because I saw the phone flashing.
Greetings also, Edward, my friend. But let me ask you about what that little bottle of gold flakes you have hanging there actually means. It has actually been a long time since I wanted to ask you about it, but the question has always slipped my mind because we were discussing other things. But now I want to ask about it, if you want to answer.
There is nothing wrong with that because it is really no secret. Well, the little bottle and the gold tinsel in it is actually a memory of Vigevano in Lombardy, province of Pavia in Italy, where I spent some time in 1963 in a shoe factory and designed a pattern for a shoe that was later also made there. I lived in a weekend house belonging to the shoe factory owners, close to the river Ticino, which has its source in Switzerland at the Newfoundland Pass to the southwest of the Gotthard Massif. It flows through the Alto Ticino and the Magadino Plain and finally flows into the Great Lake, Lake Maggiore.
You spoke fluent Italian back then, French too, as I know, and later also other languages. Tell me a few things, because I would like to know what happened in your life. You always keep quiet about it.
Right, but that is also not important. But good, if you want to hear. I spoke fluent Italian back then, but I have since forgotten it because I no longer needed it, as well as French, of which I only really have the pronunciation left. I could only speak Turkish, which I learnt in Üsküdar, Istanbul and Iskenderun, and Arabic, which stuck with me in various Arab states, and also Greek, because I was married to a Greek woman whom I met in Greece, in Thessaloniki, and married in Corinthos. I also spoke English, which I still need a bit of today, but I am still struggling with it because after my stroke a few years ago, I have also had language difficulties with High German and Swiss German, or Bühlerdeutsch and Berndeutsch, which I learnt in Bern when I worked in a sandblasting shop on Wankdorfeldstrasse and learned this trade. I had completely forgotten valet German, which I had learnt from valet workers when I worked in the Motto Bertola mining tunnel in Ticino for the Thyler and Kalbermatter Company in Lucerne, and went to mining school there to add to what I had already learnt. From my father when we often had to blow up many tree trunks with black powder for the farmers of Booley during the World War from 1939 to 1945. Today, however, everything is subject to state authorization, so that what was done back then is no longer permitted, and explosives, etc. can also no longer be bought without a permit. The last blasting work, tree trunks, the construction of a rubble storage area, and the excavation for a large pond, was then here at the center. As for my language difficulties today, they are very problematic and the whole thing is very unpleasant for me, because often I cannot pronounce the words that are on the tip of my tongue, or I simply use other words that are just wrong. Fortunately, this does not affect writing, apart from the fact that external energies always have a disruptive effect.
Yes, I know that, and I thank you for what you have told me from your life. What you still have not told me, however, is the relationship to the vial with the gold tinsel contents.
You see, I have forgotten that again. That is how it goes, but I can tell you that I not only designed a pattern for a shoe in a shoe factory in Vigevano,
But you also learnt shoemaking to a large extent from your father, who was a trained cobbler. You keep the shoemaking machine from back then in a display case outside the front door.
Yes, that is Father's shoemaker's sewing machine, which, along with some tools, the masterpiece and the shoe stick, was kept by my younger sister Hedwig, and has now been given to me, and I keep everything in the showcase you mentioned.
You are forgetting to tell me again what the little bottle is all about.
Yes, again, that is the way it is. Well, the bottle contains some gold tinsel that I washed out of the Ticino when I was in Vigevano, when I was not only busy designing a shoe pattern, but also washing gold, and washed out about 3 grams of gold tinsel in about 4 weeks, most of which I gave away and kept the little bit I had in the bottle. So I also worked as a gold panner for a short time.
Good. So that is what you have also done and learnt, along with many other things. And it is very interesting for me to hear from yourself about all the things you have done and experienced in your life. That is something completely different from reading this and that in my grandfather's annals and adding to my knowledge of you, which only concerns the many things that happened when he and you were together for many years. I know nothing of all that which, of course, is not recorded in a single word after his departure. Asket and Simyase wrote down everything that was important at the time, everything that happened with you and around you, but I have not been able to deal with that yet. My grandfather's notes alone are so extensive that it will take me years to process them in such a way that I can understand everything in a way that makes sense to me. What I have learnt so far from all the annals alone has led to me having to rethink and change many aspects of my life, and in a positive way, for which I am very grateful to you. I can and will tell you that openly, as is the case at least with those who are directly connected to you, and also all those who have been a link between us Pleiaren and you during all this time, expressing an affinity that always gives us much to discuss in conversation.
That amazes me. And to be honest, I have never given it much thought. I kind of took it all as natural.
Very much so for you, which we understand in such a way that,
Svath the crux of the matter for that.
yes, I guess it was.
Good. Then we do not have to talk about it any further.
Me.
That is not why I came here, but because I promised to copy some of your poems from grandfather's annals and bring them to you, and also record them for you electronically. Consequently, I consulted with the committee, which is why we made a selection of poems that include predictions. I have now brought these or 3 of them with me and can add them to you electronically.
I do not remember what I wrote prediction poems about, but I am happy to be surprised at what I put into poems back then, with Svath helping me to find the rhymes. At that time, I was not yet so linguistically adept that I would have been very knowledgeable about rhyming words. Svath also taught me to read and write, so I was already able to do so when I had to go to school with my teacher Graf, albeit a year later than normal, that is to say at the age of 7 instead of 6, because my health was not as good as it should have been due to the severe pneumonia that attacked me in the first few months of my life when it was assumed that I would not live to see the morning, but Svath intervened. Unfortunately, the whole thing led to long-lasting after-effects, because year after year I had to struggle with severe pneumonia, which is why I also had to go to the canton of Graubünden for a cure for some time after leaving school in the town of Klosters.
I am partly familiar with that, and here I have the 3 poems we picked out.
Thank you. The first one here, a prediction for Germany there. When I read here, I remember that. Svath helped me a lot with that, and explained what will come in the future in the 3rd millennium. Later on, it might have been about a year later, I was able to talk to him.
Yes, I know, because that is listed in grandfather's annals. But these are very extensive, so it will take a long time to read through everything.
Then I do not have to tell it and just leave the poems in order as you have them here. So the first and unpleasant thing here as far as Germany is concerned. But as I can see here on the screen now, it is tearing it up. Consequently, I have to organize everything. I will try to organize it like this on the left-hand side. Yes, it works. It is a bit tedious, but it works.
What is to come in the 3rd millennium in Germany?
The World War is over so far, but all human beings are blinded by it, because the Nazism will arise again. Because soon a new empire will rise, and again it will be created in Germany, created by the minds of those in power. This will be as the future shows evil, when the 3rd millennium dawns. Many rulers will then live without their knowledge, thinking and acting in blind conscience, with a Nazi mindset, and imitate everything what Hitler did in the Nazi Reich, full of dishonor. Many rulers are, without a second thought, wrongly intelligent for warmongering, unscrupulous, give weapons for murder and evil debacles, which America provokes with hegemonic machinations, to conquer Russia, as it is then called. to blaze in the delusion of world domination. This is how Svath, the wise, saw it. This is how he said it, how the German government is failing to steer. Repetition is demanded. What a mockery, as it was in Hiroshima, also Nagasaki already. An insane clown, in a crazy warmongering frenzy, will call on state leaders to plot revenge, to fulfill the hatred and sick brain, his madness lacking any clear sense. But it will come in the third millennium, beginning in the near future, bemorsened, only for all Nazi-minded people in government, who, thanks to low intelligence and thought mining, will then be incapable of acting correctly, lacking reason, might make them mind-blind. That will be the case, according to Svath. When in Germany, in many rulers in the new millennium Nazi mindset, low intelligence comes to a head, and the rulers are hit by ignorant lousiness. Eddie, 17 Horse, Sunday, 24th November 1946.
The future of the Earth humans, far into the third millennium.
The human being, the future brings you evil times. In every country, when destruction comes in billowing and cold garments of death, many human beings will be brought from life to death in retribution. And your life and existence will be made an evil hell. But unfortunately, this will not make you any wiser, for you will not cease to murder all of nature on earth. The human being, you believe in the delusion that you will find comfort and protection through God, but you deceive yourself and allow yourself to be bound by religious lies, worshiping an imaginary God. So also fanatically religious friars who are mistaken and fanatically and sickly heat up high delusional beliefs in you. If you are a woman or a child, some will sexually abuse you, which will become known in the future, as a result of which some clergymen will go into hiding. But other human beings do not mistakenly worship a god or a faith, but practice thinking freely themselves, thereby dusting off their brains. In the future, the earth will be shaken by droughts, storms, and tempests. Buildings will be destroyed, and many expensive human lives will be lost. And in the future, many wars will break out in many countries. In Russia, Persia, Arabia, Israel, the Middle East, and Afghanistan, as this will also threaten Europe again, because in Germany, sick Nazis will rule again, irrationally with no decency, irresponsibly irresponsible, partisan, unceremoniously deliver weapons and money into a war zone, and very villainously create enmity, which will also cause peace, goodwill, and friendship to wither. Thus, through America's fault, war will break out in Europe, often shamefully caused by America's delusions of hegemony. Disasters and deaths will occur at all levels. America's rulers will lust for world domination and create terror. No country will be spared anywhere on earth. I have seen it all and am now making it very clear. Thousands of death cries will ring through the world, and for a long time, no glimmer of hope will light up the planet. New diseases and rampantly spreading disease will come, and many storms will rage. And going to church, faith, prayer will not help. No praise to God when droughts, storms, fires, catastrophes, and thunder fill the earth. When future destruction, death, misery, ruin envelop everything in evil. An American in hatred with Chinese will create a rampantly spreading disease, which will be very pernicious worldwide and take away millions of human beings, which America refuses to recognize and denies the truth, for which it will then work vehemently for years with lies and also deception. Hunger will also break out, and even over the entire earthly world, because danger threatens from outer space, and human beings will be filled with fear. Large fires will rage through many forests and destroy many things, even wildlife, killing many human beings as they perform their prayers. Wild waters will rise, mercilessly drowning many lives. Glacial masses will crash, raging through many countries. Villages and countries will sink in wild floods due to storms. Countless lives, human beings and animals alike, will drown in the wild floods. Shipping, aviation, and motorways will bring bad deaths in the future. Rainstorms, storms, and wars will turn many things into mountains of rubble. Crime, hatred, revenge, war, and misfortune will increase innumerably. Earth humans will plunge into horrors, and murders will become commonplace. These are the evil and unavoidable signs of the coming times which is approaching in the future, bringing death and changing humanity. It will all be the fault of Earth humans, and Earth humans alone, who will cause his earthly world hardship, misery, and ruin in the future. Because he harasses it and robs it of all the treasures of oil and gas, destroying the Earth's ores, forests, water, life, and grass. It will be the fault of human beings, the primitive atomic explosions that dethrone life and Earth inside and outside the law. There will be no great peace for the Earth world in the future. Earth humans have plundered far too much of its treasures, shamelessly exploited, constantly plundered and viciously robbed, madly built them up with reservoirs, motorways, airfields, houses, and their internal and external balance has been viciously destroyed, which is why the climate is now changing and earthquakes are roaring with evil rumblings. And all this, Earth humans, will now come in the future through your insane actions, through your megalomania, your lust for power, like your sick run. You yourself are to blame for all the evil coming destruction, which you will conjure up with your constant madness. Through evil machinations, the earth shall finally become a paradise, to create endless pleasures, festive joys and allotree on earth. But Earthman, you will do everything that henceforth disturbs the normal course, for you have never listened to voices of reason and warnings. Earth human, you will continue to play tricks with the good earth nature. You will cause it pain, hardship, misery, and all the evil ordeals of hell. But for this, Earth humans, you will suffer terrible negative consequences in the future, for you will have to go through death, destruction, hardship, and misery. This is the response of the earth and its climate, which you will desecrate in the future, which you, greedy for power in your delusion, will in future pawn off to the evil one. In the future, your actions and deeds will even become an ancient evil sign, flooded with debris and destruction, also with human corpses. But at first you will laugh at this earthly sign in a lowly, intelligent, and simple-minded way, in order to continue merrily in the robbery of the earth and all evil as a result of low intelligence. And you, human being, despise nature, but it is the creation of the whole, and you alone will bear the blame for the irresponsible extermination of all animals, and plants will be irresponsibly exterminated in the future, mostly with poison and evil machinations, and that in the future human beings will smoke cannabis alongside them. Countless human beings will also become dependent and addicted to many drugs. This leads to many deaths in misery and is causing crazy waves around the world. Edie, 2204 hours, Friday, 3rd of February, 1950.
What the Earth humans will face in the future.
You Earth humans, very evil things will come to you, which will begin as soon as, what is to come as soon as it enters the next millennium. The Cold War is raging, and will also increase in intensity in the future. So only seemingly peace, but discord reigns, which rutted for 41 years, then cancelled and replaced by an evil time, which, however, brings suffering and harm to human beings. The evil beginning of political change comes in just 41 years, when the time of unfair, insane, lowly intelligent presidents comes to an end in America. When a bush begins to burn, and brings war fires over Iraq. In lust, malice, lies, as many rulers do in the third millennium, on and on, led by America, and roaring violently across the earth. Death, hardship, misery, hatred, war and revenge will sweep through the world. Mass murder, extermination and destruction will rage in the Middle East. Jew hatred will flare up anew, and America's president will secretly praise himself to unjustly unleash evil wars, as if hegemonically daring to do, to indulge in outrageous lies and deceit on a global scale, as many rulers and powerful people in all states also do, who misgovern for their own good and see their people only as a nuisance. Lies and deceit will prevail in governments to the greatest extent, and for them it will be nothing more than a very nasty hellish joke. Thus, from 40 years onwards, the nations will be ruled by autocrats, by power-hungry people who have nothing left in them that is good and honest. Self-importance and lust for power will be everywhere, and even blatant, and this will be rampant everywhere and cause hatred among human beings. And as it will be in governments, it will come in the private sphere, and with human beings observing religion, it will become the realm of the dead. The human being would not be so greedy, wildly chasing after much money and might. Then there would be peace on earth, and the planet would be full of splendor all around. If only you, earth humans, had read all the true ancient scriptures, instead of believing religious lies, then there would always have been peace. And if you had not inflicted misery, hatred, lies, and mockery on creation, then nature and existence would let the earth flourish as a reward. But to you, earth human, this is now announced to you as a warning, and all the signs of the coming time are proclaimed to you in the truest words, as predictions of the wise Fath, not of politicians and sectarians, who bring lies and deceit and ultimately belong to the losers. It is those who have always badly exploited the people and the believers, and have constantly regurgitated lies to human beings throughout their lives. But now you human beings, as well as the earth, nature, fauna and flora will pay in the coming future, and neither the Bible, the Quran nor the Torah will help, because the destructive machinations of massive overpopulation, which will come and be propagated without reason or hesitation, will harass and destroy the earth, fauna and flora to such an extent, yet you, human beings, do not realize that these are conjuring up their misery. But now, as I said, you will pay for it in the future to an extreme degree, for now comes the time when the door of destruction opens for you, for the earth is taking revenge, violently, rebelliously, very loudly, because you believe in religions, the Pope, God, politicians, but not in yourself. You become wise because you allow yourself lies, low intelligence and selfishness, whereby you will slide towards depravity, injustice and stupidity, thereby leading your behavior to inhumanity and indifference. But soon you will be ridden by fear, hardship, misery and ruin, when wars, drugs and hatred take hold of you human beings in 41 years he won. For then will come that era of many signs of bad times. Much strife will spread in marriages, friendships and acquaintances, violence, murder and manslaughter, much discord, rape and revenge, and hatred, retaliation, envy and jealousy, under many a roof. There will also be an increase in rape and murder in the open, in forests, in valleys, on roads and quiet paths, also in the mountains. Terrible death and destruction will be unleashed on the whole earth, and that will come and be, the true lines foretell. Eddy, 2116 Haas, Maundy, Thursday, 6th of April, 1950.
You can sort that out later. For now, I would like to discuss a few things with you, which is why I came to see you. in addition to the fact that I wanted to bring you these poems, as I had promised you. It should also be said that you wrote them in Asket and Simyase's time, but you did not publicize them as you did in the past, but Asket and Simyase gave these poems to our committee in their entirety, so they are known to us. Unfortunately, however, they have their personal notes in their own custody, which they are only gradually working through, and we will only receive them when they have completed this work, for which they have only recently received instructions, because until now their notes have lain fallow.
There is nothing wrong with that. I mean that you still want to discuss some things. But I did not know that Asket and Simyase still had the records. But that also does not seem important to me.
Perhaps not for you, but for us, because these and my grandfather's annals are of great interest to our people. The committee has arranged for these to be published in fragments from time to time, which is also to be done now with Asket's and Simyase's records, so both have been asked to edit them now. Effectively, this is not about a personality cult, but about obtaining accurate and enlightening information for the first time.
So you can let it stand if that is the case. Unfortunately, things are different with Earthlings, where a cult of personality is immediately created, as you said, if the human being in question is thought to be something special. But there are no such human beings, because every human being is and remains a human being, regardless of what they also are and might do. Of course, his achievements should be recognized and appreciated, but he should not be revered as something special because of this.
That is far from our play-yarn behavior.
It would also not be good if it were the opposite. Therefore, we also do not need to talk about it any further, so we can move on to other things. Not exactly what you want to discuss, because it is the month of October, and I remember something that Ptah and I noticed at that time when we were working out some things regarding overpopulation. Not only did we realize that the human counting machine was continuing to produce completely false results, but that scientists were lying through their teeth that there were far fewer Earthlings populating the world than the existing roaring mass of overpopulation really was. For example, there is still talk today of around 8 billion, although by the end of the year there will already be almost 10 billion human beings populating the Earth. And then there are the lunatics and other firecrackers in the governments, such as in Russia, Germany, France, Italy, and even Switzerland, who propagate that the people should endeavor to create many descendants. This is despite the fact that the Earth, nature, and its fauna and flora have been turned into a pig by up to 70% in some cases and are therefore inevitably no longer functioning correctly. Nature is actually creation, or the energy and power that is existence itself, and thus gives life to everything and everyone, precisely through the energy and power it contains. Creation is the all-encompassing existence of all of nature, which, as a gigantic egg-shaped structure, forms what we human beings call the universe, whereby creation or nature or the existence of everything and everyone, however, contains 7 universes within itself, in the same place, but separated by different dimensions in each case. But now, and I am getting away from the actual topic again, I want to talk about the crazy things that Ptah and I have discovered about overpopulation. Namely something that goes far beyond what those in power actually want with regard to the call to bring more children into the world. Together with Bermunda, Ptah has rummaged around in the minds of various rulers and scientists and gained some very frightening insights, ranging from the targeted extermination of poor human beings to partial genocides of all peoples, until a planet-friendly humanity once again populates the Earth. The fact that 500 million human beings are still supposed to populate the Earth was stolen from. In America, we're also created a large monument that has since been destroyed by sectarians who want humanity to grow even more. This in contrast to wanted to wipe out the population of America largely out of revenge, and therefore ensured that the corona rampantly spreading disease was invented in laboratories in China, but initially infected laboratory workers several times, resulting in various plague-like epidemics, and only finally corona. Even today, it is still claimed and lied about that this pandemic was caused by wild animals, Although this outrageous lie is perhaps spread because it may have long since been discovered where the rabbit was hiding and what the effective origin of the corona rampantly spreading disease really was. Well, now I have deviated again from what I was supposed to say. Ptah and Bermuda have determined in the convolutions of the brains of various rulers, scientists and even sectarians, etc., that the AI is to be far anticipated, which will one day take on a life of its own and take action against Earth humans. The investigations have not only revealed that lunatics and other madmen, scientists and rulers, etc., want to promote the birth rate so that the mass of overpopulation will become even greater than it already is and create the current world catastrophe. That is one thing, but the crazy hammer now comes with the fact that Ptah and Bermuda have fathomed that a mindset of these lunatics is haunting their brains, which hatches that in future, every marriage should no longer be legally childless, but that offspring should be practically required by law, and that marriage without children is no longer permitted. So that is how far the Earthling is already, and no longer wonders why that should be. Even I agree that in this wise cannon fodder should be bred so that there is enough material for wars. And when I think that this will soon be propagated in Russia, as Bermuda and Ptah said, then everything in the world looks even worse than human beings can imagine. And I reckon, should this actually materialize, then everything will be much worse for human beings than if the Arctic and Antarctic melt and the waters of the seas rise to such an extent that they flood towns and villages and vast areas of land to such an extent that they become uninhabitable. This makes the catastrophe of mass overpopulation even more precarious, as there is less and less space to live and exist, while humanity continues to grow inexorably. As a result, biodiversity is also disappearing more and more, as the idiots in government and their supporters want anyway, in order to build motorways, factories, houses and sports grounds, etc. This is the reality and the truth, not the truth. This is the reality and the truth, but not the lies and the malicious deceptions that Let's Federty rulers let loose against all sense and will of the righteous, who have no mosht in governments.
That is more than just a true word you utter, and you are not exactly making friends by doing so, but what you say fully corresponds to correctness, and that you have the courage to say everything as it is effective, that honors you.
Thank you, but what it can bring will not be pleasant, because all the many unrighteous people will not allow their lies and deceit, which they are feigning or dishing out to the people, to be exposed and the truth to come to light. Unfortunately, names cannot or must not be mentioned, otherwise it is all the more the devil is loose, as they say, and the more unrighteous a person is, the more they deny and deceive and take action against those human beings, judicially if possible, and fleece them greedily for money as damages, who are honest and tell the truth.
I would be overwhelmed with that, and there I am glad I am not a citizen of this world. Now, however, I want to get to what I was talking about and discuss it with you.
Okay, go ahead then.